I was in a giant hangar area of the size of many gymnasiums, and there were troops. It was a day where everybody was being delivered. I saw a disc fly over. Your straight up chrome disc. And there was a kind of a electrical, like a crackle when it went over. You could feel like a static electricity. There was a guy on a podium talking in German. There were soldiers, hundreds of soldiers lined up in formation. And they came, there was a German guy in a German uniform with a gun, and he handed us they were green little pieces of paper with German writing on them. He said, now get over there in line, and when you're called upon, you're gonna read this, and when you're done, you're gonna salute that flag. We did exactly what he said, and it went on for a while. The podium guy went on talking in German, and then they took us to our area where we lived, where I lived for the next 11 or 12 years. The Germans, they have a breakaway civilization there. They had about 225,000 people living there. There was this alien species there that was about 9 feet tall, and they wore some kind of jewelry, like a bracelet, and wherever they went, the gravity turned down. Our gravity was too heavy for them. So where they were standing locally on that floor block, the gravity would lower for them.
Some of the craft of non-human origin that have been recovered were crashes, like we talk about. There's this crash retrieval program, but some of them were almost like gifts. They were found outside military bases in perfect condition.
Yeah.
And, when multiple intelligence officials told me about some of these events, it's hard not to get your imagination going on what the intention could be there.
Yeah.
Is it, is one of the senior scientists in the film says, is that something that's only happening here, or are the gifts placed at Evershow Nations and it's survival of the fittest? Is it a giant IQ test? Like what is it?
Who's the Graham Hancock? Maybe Graham Hancock, right?
No, the guy who says in my film is Hal Puthoff.
No, I'm saying, I'm sure you've seen Graham Hancock's work, because, and Sitchin talks about in his books, this idea that, they've been here all along, and they're almost like, for lack of a better analogy, parents to a child, kind of giving us stuff along the way to kind of tweak our progress technologically and maybe even socially. Hence, all the appearance of all these megaliths all over the world with the same architectural sort of foundations, people taking vast leaps, technological leaps.
Yeah, maybe.
Even I was reading recently, it was sort of interesting, and I'm not asking you to subscribe to this, it's just theoretical, the idea that all of a sudden Egypt makes this huge technological leap during the time of the pharaohs. But the other thing that people don't realize is at some point that technology went out of their system. That whatever happened for a particular period of time, and then they lost the ability to use those technologies if you subscribe that they gained a technology. That there's evidence of no technology.
And on one craft, 35 foot diameter on the outside. It looks much bigger on the inside, but how can that be? It's only 35 foot diameter on the outside. But when you go in, 40, 50 foot tall on the inside, and I'm wondering, how can this be? But then you have like ladders that go up on several levels. I'm going to say 3, it could have been more, but at least three levels. And you'd have compartments there. There was like a control panel. There was 2 seats in front, there was a seat in back, and they were controlling with the instruments they had by just putting their hands over it or moving them over it, and they could control the craft that way. The interesting thing, you saw no lights, but it was perfectly bright on the inside. And at times you might feel you've been on the craft for only a couple of minutes to get out and find out that maybe an hour or 2 had passed. And I don't know how to explain that. You're dealing with a different reality.
There's a civilization up on Mars, two factions that have been fighting for hundreds of years, and that fight is still going on. That's why we're not allowed to land anything there, and if we try to send up anything there, they shoot it down. There's a civilization up on Venus. Venus is a really nice place to live, and they look like just, us. Uranus has the civilizations, and the people are in huge round containers that contain housing, and they orbit Uranus. The one that orbited between Jupiter and Mars was a planet called Man. I think there was 100 billion people there. They had tremendous innovations. Their buildings were, made of gold and silver and highways of diamonds. It was really something. That plan did not fit into the agenda that the serpents had. And the serpents, I've told you, are the head of everything that goes on in this universe. And for some reason, Planet Man, they blew it up. It took them 1.5 seconds. Nothing was left except the asteroid belt. All the stuff gold and stuff we find on the surface of the Earth, those come from the Planet Man disintegrating.